I always thought that if I started, maybe somebody who really knew what they would do would have courage and would actually take leadership. And then it's been interesting because I have never anticipated being in a leadership role. But then people are like, well, you're the leader of this. And I'm like, okay, that was not my anticipation at all. I just wanted to, I had always hoped that somebody who really was good and knowledgeable would take over. And that's why, when Eric does Dad Talk today, I'm really glad, or Melissa Isaac, she does Dad Talk, I'm good. I can address issues, but, I would much rather be playing with my grandchildren.
Right.
But until I can, I'm going to make sure that I did the best that I can, that this is not around for them. Okay, my name is Jeffrey Morgan. I'm originally from Pennsylvania. Been throughout the world, been in the military, ministry, went to seminary, got an MBA, now work for an organization that is, it's actually with the government. So I'm very glad to be where I am. But I've been in Dallas, and I've been in the Texas area since 2004. Came back from overseas and moved to Texas, and this is where I am.
What part of Pennsylvania were you in?
I'm in Erie, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Originally, I'm from Erie, Pennsylvania, so I know about where you guys live.
Okay. Talk to me about, can you summarize the court system, the family court system, as you see it today?
The family court system as I see it today is I don't know how to say this nicely. It is a jumble of contradictions. It is a lawless system. I've talked with people that are very high up in the judicial system that they've called the family court system as the wild, wild west. There are people that have said you have no constitutional protections in family court. I see the family courts as not dispensing justice, and when they don't dispense justice, you start dispensing injustice. I see them as being destructive. I see them as being lawless. I see them as trying to impose opinions and their viewpoints on people when they really should have absolutely no jurisdiction in an area.
Great. Tell me a little bit about what you do and how you've been able to observe some behaviors in court.
Okay, so what I started to do, I went through a no-fault divorce back in 2012, and I found out that there was really no defense that I could give. No-fault divorce is a predetermined outcome. If you have a lawsuit against you, you should have the opportunity either to bar the lawsuit or to present evidence contrary to the lawsuit. That never happens. And it bothered me because here I am, I have now lost my family, my house. I was doing everything being as nice as I could in a lawsuit that I didn't even want. And I said, something is wrong here. I started to read a book called Taken Into Custody by Stephen Baskerville, and as I was reading through it, I could not continue to read through it. I could only read like a page or two because I said, this is so unjust. Something is wrong here. And I saw a movie during that time in which a guy was innocent, but he was incarcerated, and the judge knew he was innocent, but it took him a number of years to actually have him retried to get him out, because when you put an innocent man into jail, now that's on you as a judge, right? So what do? You try to find ways to kind of ignore that because it reflects badly upon you. So I saw, this is what really got me going, to say something is wrong with a system that you can have no defense whatsoever. And then I started to meet other people as I started talking about these issues. And people talked about other stuff within the family court system, which I had never had experience. My kids were older, so I never knew what it was like to be, you could only see your children like on the weekends or, for 2 hours on a Thursday, and you had to pay all this child support. I don't know how I would have done it. And I just don't know how I would have done it. I have been so amazed at the strength that many of these people have shown in their patience, and because I don't know how I would have reacted to some of this stuff. But I started, as I was listening to other people, I said, something is wrong. It's not just me. There's something wrong with the system. And then I heard people start talking about court watching, and I thought, well, I can do that. That's something I could do. So somehow somebody called me and said, hey, would you mind coming into this court? So I went in with him, and I conferred with a couple of different people. And it became a little bit of, as I started to watch it, I said, this is completely wrong. And then I would go to another person's thing, and it got worse. And I go to another person's thing, and it got worse. And I mean, no matter how unjust it was at the beginning, it seemed like it's unjust like this until now, but wait till the next one because it's going to get even worse. So, but as I talked about these things, most people don't think about family courts as being unjust and being destructive. They think that this is just the way that's supposed to be done. But I look at the idea of the destruction of the family as being the biggest problem in our state, in our country, because of the ramifications afterwards. So I started to go in to watch what was taking place. And as I was watching, I saw what I thought was very unethical behavior, unethical by attorneys, and unethical by judges. I thought the laws were wrong. So there was a representative here that I contacted because he made a comment about something, and I said, you know, I agree with you. Would you mind sponsoring this legislation? So he did for a couple of years. Unfortunately, this year he did not, and I'm not sure what happened with that. But we're trying to change the divorce laws because to me, the issue of divorce is where the initial injustice begins. There are reasons for divorce, valid reasons for divorce. Even in those cases, it's still traumatic to children. But when you have a divorce that it's a predetermined outcome, and there's nothing you can do to stop it, and the children of those divorces are impacted even harder than the children of divorces that need to take place, something is wrong. So I believe that whether we want to acknowledge it or not, I believe that the state of Texas has basically declared maybe they haven't declared a war on the family, but they sure are executing one, or more maybe terrorism on the family. So that's how I got involved in this stuff. And I guess because I started to do this, I thought, well, it's one thing for me to know it, but I need to start to communicate this at the same time. And I take the perspective that if I'm public, it probably protects me, because if I'm very secretively, somebody might be able to threaten me or whatever. Well, I want to be public. Put it out there. I don't have anything to hide. I can tell the truth, and if you want to challenge me truth for truth, go ahead. But if it comes down to, you want to threaten me, I don't want to be threatened, but I make sure ahead of time, is there any possible way they can do something to me? Because my stepson has very strong medical needs, and what happens if I end up in jail? What happens to my wife? What happens, all of these different things. So I've been trying to protect myself. And I also don't want to look like a fool. I want to make sure that if I'm going to go into somebody, I want to try to get as much information as I can. I don't want to be defending something which is unjust. I want to see justice. And if you start to see justice in these court systems and people being protected by our courts rather than being destroyed by them, I think it's a very valid activity to engage in.